Welcome to the Me in the Making podcast. I am your host, Millie Clay, and I am here with my guest. If you have been here for a while, you might recognize her name and her voice, but now you get to see her beautiful face because we are now in video. And this is Dr. Brandi Nikkale, a new way to introduce Miss Brandi Nikkale. It is Doctor, not to be confused with anything else. But the last time you were okay, so you were a guest on the show back in season 1 when I first launched in 2022, and we are now in 2026, a few years later, and I wanted to have you on the show for you to kind of talk about any updates in your life that you've been having. Spoiler alert, I just announced to everyone that you are now a doctor, finished your PhD. What an accomplishment. Congratulations
Mhm.
again. But yeah, like tell the class
Yes, yes. So
how it was. How was that experience
yes,
of going from not having your doctorate to now having it? Like
yes.
what a feat.
I can't believe it's been 2 years since I finished. So 4 years since we chatted, 2 years since I finished. So I finished in 2024. I graduated with my education doctorate, so EDD in organizational change and leadership from USC. And it was such a ride, and I can't believe it's over, even though it's been 2 years since it has been over. And so going into the program, one of the things that I told myself is like really immerse yourself in this, like experience it fully, no shortcuts, don't sell yourself short on the process, show up to the classes, make friends with your classmates, like really get in there. And I did. And I think I walked away from it with no regrets. I studied something I was really passionate about in terms of my dissertation work. I made lifelong friends, people that I always keep in touch with. I'm still passionate about the work that I started there and have plans for carrying that through beyond the program. I feel really good. I feel that I earned what I paid for, what I paid a handsome amount for. And I'm proud of the work that I did there. So I feel good about it.
Yes, congratulations. I love that. Like your face just lit up talking about it. And I think you can really tell the passion that you have for it and just the um like love for it, I think, like based on what your dissertation was based on. And you can definitely get into that if you would like to. And then also you were mentioning about like friendships, lifelong friendships that you have now from that program. And in your previous episode on Me in the Making, we were talking about how you are a builder of community and how you are intentional in the way that you are building those friendships, building those connections. So, was that something that was already in your wheelhouse for, like building your communities within academia, or did that look a little bit different than how you had done it before?
Sure. So, and that's such a good topic. I want to talk a little about that outside of the doctorate program too, because I'm still there, but I'm also shifting. So I want to talk about that. But in terms of the academic space, it really was super organic. So there were, we had, I think, one class before we all got together in person. So it's an asynchronous program. So you get together 2 times over the course of the program in California in person. Otherwise, it's all online, but like video style, like you and I are. And so when we got together in person, there was one particular guy who I had a class with, and we connected and just like, oh, let's stay connected through the program and, keep each other, uplifted. We kind of had the same energy about going into the program of being excited about being fully immersive. And then when we met in the classroom over that first weekend of the program, there were like a handful, 3 or 4 other people who we just all kind of gravitated towards each other. And it was like, okay, let's make a group chat. And then we just held each other up throughout the entire program. So it was super, super organic, which I love. I still, talk to them. We still will drop stuff in the group chat. If somebody's in town where somebody else lives, we'll, try to hang out. So one of my classmates actually is in Charlotte. So when we go for the writing retreat, I'm hoping to get a chance to see her while I'm there.
Oh, good.
Come to Atlanta. So just a genuine care for one another and just desire to see each other win.
I love that. I love that. And especially in the realm of postgraduate work, like academia, I would assume that you need that type of support because I'm sure you're not going to get that from your professors, and people probably in your social circle haven't already gone through that experience. So that's something where you need like those people to uplift you, for you all to uplift each other through such a trying experience, because that's not the only thing that you're working on. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, it would be lovely if that is the only thing, but you are holding down a full-time job, holding down like full-time life outside of that work. And so you need that support in order to finish.
Absolutely. And I, if I'm not mistaken, I was the youngest person in the entire cohort of 80 plus people.
Oh,
And
wow.
so for me, I'm holding down a full time job, a social life, but most of my classmates are holding down full time jobs, one or two of them sometimes also owning a business. Most of them had families, husbands, wives, children, grandchildren in some cases, just tons and tons of responsibility. And not to say any more or less than what I had, but complex system of people operating in different ways with a variety of experiences. So even just within our small group that we built, one of the gentlemen was ex-military. He was in law enforcement. One was a school principal and had founded his own school. One had his own company and dealt in oil in Texas. So there is just such a range of who you're dealing with. And so it's so nice to have like that sample size. It's like, hey, here's what I can offer. Here's what I can offer. I have a little of this experience, or I know a little more about this thing or that thing. And so we were able to really pull on each other's strengths and improve on each other's, areas for improvement.
Nice, nice. Ironing, sharpening iron.
Mhm.
Iron sharpens iron. Not ironing.
No, no, I don't do that.
No, no. Millennials, it's tough to find those who do that.
Lost it. We lost it.
So do you wanna talk any about, like, what your dissertation topic was on?
Sure. So I talked about fat phobia specific to healthcare, and Black women specific. So just that intersection between being a woman, and being in a larger body, a fat body, whatever whatever verbiage you'd like to use, and how that impacts the level of healthcare that you receive. And so my goal is this year I will be publishing my dissertation into a book. And so I think it'll be just a really powerful read to understand the lived experiences of fat Black women in healthcare, and Black women in healthcare in general, and then narrowing down to having that living in a plus size body, which adds another layer of potential discrimination and neglect and mistreatment. And there was so much to uncover, so many heartbreaking realizations, but also I was able to come to a thought in terms of what I think would um, advance the way we're treated, which I think would maybe potentially resolve some of that gap that we experience. And so look forward to it in the book.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Just as a layperson, hearing you speak about it, that sounds like something that is very relatable that I think people across the board can, um, attach onto, because it isn't only, I'm assuming it's not just for the people who are healthcare providers, but it's
Oh, no, no, no. This is Black women
anyone.
as patients,
Yeah.
experiencing this as patients. And it's something that I've experienced. Many of my friends have experienced it, where you go to the doctor and they say, oh, you're complaining about headaches. And they're like, well, that might change if you lose some weight. And it's like, hey, that has nothing to do with my headache. I would like for you to treat my symptoms the same way that you would a BMI friendly white male, please. Give me that treatment. Don't treat me like a number on the scale. If losing weight is part of it, sure, but do not dismiss my symptoms as weight related without following through.
Yes, yes, that's great. And you'll be able to give people that language to
Mhm.
advocate for themselves once they read your book.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. And would you also market it to healthcare providers? Like, would that be something that you are trying to get doctors and physicians to, get
Absolutely.
to?
Absolutely, because something that I talk about in the dissertation, which will be in the book, is the history of it. And so the BMI was actually created by sociologists. It was not even created by a medical.
Oh,
It was
I did
created
not know that.
to just study the human nature and the human body. They weren't looking to set a standard for what the human body should be. So even when we go back to the origin of these tools, they do not make sense. They are not applicable to who we are as humans. Another thing I learned is that um, people of Asian descent have their own BMI scale that can be used, but people of African descent do not. And so on one side, it's like, hey, we understand that you may be smaller than our average population in the United States. And so we'll create a scale for you. But on the African descent side, because you may be bigger, fat is unacceptable. Thinner is acceptable. And so we do not have our own scale. So there's a lot of things that I think even healthcare providers could benefit from the framing of it to understand how their patients may be receiving their care and how they can just be more conscious and thoughtful about caring for their patients who exist in larger bodies.
Mhm, mhm. That I mean, wow, that's something that I had no idea about. Like, I knew that the BMI, system wasn't accommodating for all types of people, but I didn't know that it's didn't start from, like,
Mhm,
medical-based level of, like, entry point.
mhm.
So that's really interesting, and also, like, is that even something that we should be striving to look towards anyway? Like, regardless of your heritage, like you were saying, Asian uh descendants have uh their own system, but like that is such a wide array of people as well.
Mhm, mhm.
So it seems like it's flawed even in its like theory.
Agreed. I think it needs to be eradicated. I think it has as far bypasses time. Our bodies are not even the size that they were 20 and 30 years ago. I know you've probably heard people say that like airplanes have not gotten larger despite everybody has gotten larger. People are larger, just probably what's in the food and what's in the water and the environmental factors. Like there's plenty of things that are causing it, but people on a whole are larger. And so when we're doing this like antiquated scale that's been going on for all these years, that's not even really based in, medical thoughtfulness or diversity, it really causes a lot of confusion and a lot of, unfortunately, discrimination. Because even if we keep the BMI scale, at what point are you using that as an excuse not to treat your patients? Because you're looking at this instead of looking at the health of the patient. Look at my lab results. Look at my scans. Pay attention to those things. That is what I want you basing my health on, not a number on a scale.
I mean, that would heal so many people, like physically and also I think mentally, being told your whole life that the body that you live in is wrong, it's inherently unhealthy, like all these different things that people are faced with when it comes to like growing up and even as a child and like growing into adulthood. Like I think that that would really um be a balm on a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you said you wanted to talk about building communities even outside of your um academia work. So I would love to hear like how that has it evolved since the last time we spoke or evolved into something different or expanded or yeah, get into that.
It is both evolving and devolving.
Devolving. Okay,
Yeah.
I would like to hear
So
about that.
Yeah, so it's evolving in that I'm still building community. I still love connecting people with the right people. I think it's just naturally who I am. I enjoy it. This past weekend, I had a friend come in from out of town. We were going to a festival. Several of my other friends came, some of which knew each other, some of which did not. And they were able to connect and we just had a great time. Super seamless time. Sorry if you hear my dog barking in the
Hi,
back.
Dewey.
There's an airplane going above.
I love
But
the cacophony of sound. It's like
I
this
know.
thing started and then we have the reaction.
Welcome to my home. Um, and so I love that. I love when it's organic. Now, the way in which it's devolving is that I have made the conscious decision this year to stop forcing it if it's not organic. So it's important to me that people do not feel left out. That's always going to be important to me. As somebody that grew up as an only child, I'm very sensitive to it. So I'm always trying to make sure that people feel included and like they have people and such. But I found that I was sometimes overextending, and that wasn't always coming back to me. And I don't do things for them to come back to me, but you do notice when the patterns arise. And so
Yes.
I'm like, if things happen organically and naturally, hey, we're all going to go here, let's all get together, we'll hang together, great. But I had to take a step back and say, hey, everybody does not have to be included in everything. And so just not overextending when it's not an organic situation. So I think that has been a realization for me since our last time that we chatted.
Yeah, so what was it before, do you think, back in 2022? Were you like really trying to put yourself out there in order to make sure that people in your life knew that they could come along with you? And now has that changed at all?
I think less of that, because if I'm hosting something, I'm going to invite all my people, like that's just natural. But let's say, let's say you come to town and we're going to do something. Of course, we have mutual friends like that we all are friends with. And so those people would be there. But my natural inclination is to say, well, let me also invite, you know, this other friend who you guys have never met, because they don't have plans this weekend and they're going to see me out and they might want to come. This sounds like their kind of thing. And I'm maybe doing that. And then on the flip side, that person is not extending their network to me per se, but I've overextended in a situation where I just didn't have to. Not, if it was organic and it's just like, hey, I'm doing karaoke for my birthday, I'm going to invite everybody, all my people. But in a situation where, hey, I'm getting together with Melissa and our friends, I don't need to necessarily then extend the invite to everybody in my network to come hang out with Melissa and my friends. If it makes sense, sure, but I don't have to. And I used to feel an obligation to do that. Like, oh, well, this is also my friend, so I want to make sure that they can come along too, because they also love sushi. And so I don't want to leave them out from getting sushi, even though they don't know these people. But then sometimes on the flip side, that's not always coming back to me. And that's not me feeling a way about that, but more so me noticing, oh, we don't have to do that. I'm not obligated to do that, and neither are they.
Yes, okay, okay. I definitely understand what you mean. So, like, I have an example. Recently, I went out to have dinner after work because it was a very long day and I was exhausted. But in the way that I like to recharge is to be like out around people, even if I don't know them. So, I went to this bar slash restaurant that I really enjoyed, and I went there and I was eating dinner, and a friend happened to see me on her Find My, and she was like, "Oh, I'm literally going to that restaurant." And I was like, "What? No way." So like we talked for about 5 minutes, and she was meeting other friends who I know through her.
Mm-hmm.
Um and they had a friend who was in town, but these people have known each other for like 10 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know her friends as well as I know her.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, if I weren't as emotionally intelligent when it comes to like friends and social situations like that, I might have felt some type of way like, oh, well, I've gone to this restaurant with those three other people and like they know that I like this restaurant. It would have been nice if they had told me that they were going to this restaurant, but I don't know that person who's coming into town, who's visiting. And the three of them all know that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so why extend an invitation to me just because I know some of them and I like that restaurant? It just it's yeah, it's unnecessary like you were saying. Now, if people wanted to do that, okay, fine. I
Mm-hmm.
won't fault them, but I don't think people should feel some kind of way if they aren't invited to something that really doesn't have anything to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that takes a level of emotional intelligence around that and like understanding social situations, or at least maybe even being okay to have a conversation with someone. Like, let's say I did feel some type
Mm-hmm.
of way, hopefully I could have a conversation with my friend and ask that question, and then we can reach an understanding. um And so I hope that that's something that like even the next generation under us is able to understand as they are like navigating these social circles, because like they were kind of stilted a little bit during
Mhm.
the pandemic. So it's a question of like how are you going to readapt back into like these social settings? And I think it takes the pressure off.
Absolutely. Again, let it be organic. If it makes sense and oh, my friend likes that too and she's going to be at my house, like, did you want to come? Like, cool, but sometimes if it doesn't feel natural, you don't have to go out of your way to try to bring everybody together, and again, noticing that I was not always being brought into the fold in that way made me realize like it's okay to not do that. It relieved the pressure for me, because I felt like that's what I need to do all the time because community is something I value so much. I'm always trying to like, oh, you guys will hit it off so good. You guys will like each other so much. And it's like, hey, you don't have to. When it happens, it'll happen and they'll connect and it'll be great. And if they want to, maintain after that, it'll be cool. But you don't have to feel I would sometimes feel a sense of anxiety about like, oh, well, I need
Mhm.
to make sure that I'm telling this person, or I hope they don't feel left out, or I hope they don't, see it and think that why did not I invite them? And, it just, there's a lot of like anxiety around making sure that, and it's part of being a people pleaser, I guess, essentially. And so it's probably the last chip on the block of people pleasing that I had to learn to release is like, hey, I don't have to worry about, and I hope that in my friendships I don't have to worry about someone feeling away without saying something. And so if they're not telling me, hey, I feel away, why am I assuming that they do?
That I mean, that's powerful, I think, that connecting that response to maybe how you were feeling anxious around the situation, and also trying to kind of take that power back of, okay, I don't want to give into this if someone hasn't even come to me to talk about
Hmm.
it might be an issue. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna treat that person like a thinking adult that they can come to me if they want. I don't wanna, ask, "Okay, is everything okay? Is everything okay?" Because then it's like, "Is everything okay?" Like,
Right. Should I be worried?
is there something you need to tell me? Like, what's happening? So, yeah, like, waiting for that person to speak up versus you going out of your way and trying to make sure everything is okay, because,
Hmm.
it's something that's unnecessary.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, so that was, like, the devolving part. Was that also the evolving part of it?
Yeah, so I think the evolving is I'm still continuing to build community. So I've created a book club here and we meet in person like once a month. So I met some amazing ladies through that. And we've, kind of one off connected via other, we do other things together outside of book club sometimes if people are available. A few book club people went to the festival we went to this past weekend. So we've created, lots of community there. So I'm still doing that. I think it's still the name of the game for me. I still do enjoy that. I still enjoy creating, niche communities for people that care about certain things. So I just recently joined a vinyl collecting group chat, and it's people in Atlanta that collect vinyl records. And so I joined that and I'm just enjoying that community, and they send events over, hey, here's this going on or that's going on, or there's a if there are different sales and such going on, and I'm sure at some point they'll host a meetup, and just continuing to build community online as well. I have the Bookish Baddies group, which is growing fast. I'm at almost 4,000 members there. And so we're constantly having conversation and dialogue there. So I do still value that. And I'm looking forward to creating community on an even grander scale moving forward. So it's still who I am, just taking the pressure off
Yes.
personally and understanding that, like, hey, everything does not have to be anxiety inducing. If it feels anxiety inducing, take the pressure off.
Take the pressure off, yes. And, so you joined a vinyl collecting group, and also you created, a book club, and so it sounds like with your passions, you're looking for different ways to connect, because maybe you're like, "Okay, the people who I currently have in my life maybe they don't, these hobbies are not their hobbies. Like, let me look elsewhere to try to connect with people so that I can talk about these things, and putting yourself out there in order to do that. So I think that's really cool. Like, you're taking on that like having that gumption to do that for yourself, because who else is gonna, like, someone's not gonna knock on your door and be like, "Hey, do you like vinyls?" It's just not
Exactly.
gonna happen, especially as an adult, like, trying to expand your social network. We have to do that work ourselves.
Absolutely. And I have a few friends who collect vinyls. And, if ever I'm doing something vinyl related, I'm like, hey, you guys want to come? But it's just nice to have that insight of like what's going on in the vinyl community, the music community. So joining the group was cool to open up a whole new network in that regard. There's a woman who lives in my complex who is a Beyonce fan down. She's Beehive down. We have connected when we see each other in the gym. We talk all things Beyonce. It's our thing, And so I was able to reach out to her. So we're going to schedule some time to just hang out and probably talk Beyonce. And, again, this would be a time when normally I would feel like, well, let me invite all my other Beyonce friends. It's like, I don't have to, eventually, if she becomes like a friend of mine, then they'll meet her organically and it'll happen. I'll have a dinner. I'll do something for my birthday and she'll come and they'll come. But I don't have to feel like, okay, I have to extend this invite out immediately or else someone's going to be upset. Like, I don't have to feel like that. So
Mhm.
it's been nice. It's been very freeing.
Yes, yes, and I think that that is really good for, I just keep coming back to taking the pressure off, like, that
Yeah.
especially, like, nowadays, I think we're talking a lot more about social settings, how to make friends, um, and really just, 1, putting yourself out there, and 2, not putting that pressure on yourself to, like, make sure that everyone else is okay. It's,
Yes.
"Am I feeling good about this? Okay, great," and, like, moving forward that way, making sure that you communicate your needs, and whatever comes to you from that, then, like, going from there, as opposed to being skittish and worried, and like, you kind of end up, it ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy if you're
Yes.
so skirmish about everything when it comes to dealing with friends or new friends, trying to build that circle.
Absolutely. And just goes back to what you said. Like, I have to allow everybody to be a fully functioning adult and say if there's an issue. And if there's not, I can't assume, like I do a lot of trying to proactively solve issues that don't exist yet. And I think that's a lot of what I'm doing is I'm trying to like, okay, let me solve it before it could happen. And it's like, girl, you're not a fortune teller. As intuitive as you think you are not a future seer. You do not know what you don't know. And the same way that if I have an issue, I have to say it, you have to expect everyone else to do that. The same way everyone has their own individual, friendships and familiar relationships, you're allowed to have the same. And I think, again, growing up as an only child is some of that for me, because I think growing up with siblings, you're used to this is mine and this is mine, like these are my friends, these are my friends, this is my, whatever. I don't think as an only child I really had that experience. So I'm always looking to like share because people tell you, well, be careful with the only child. You don't want them to get stingy. And so I,
Right. You're trying to
I'm always,
counteract something that might not
exactly.
even be in someone else's mind just yet.
Exactly. I'm proactively trying to solve the issue of I don't want anybody to think I'm selfish,
That is, I think that's really a good realization that you've had about yourself, in order to now do the opposite of that. So, like, okay, let me relax and just wait until someone comes to me, and let me live my life as I normally would. And if someone has an issue, we can talk about it. But I don't want to try to pre-think that up. And I was just talking to my therapist about that exact thing when it comes to work. And I think sometimes with work, if you're managing people, you do try to anticipate. I think that is good for people as leaders, but not so much that, like, I'm going to put myself in a spiral.
Yes.
So I think that's some really good advice, to think like, okay, yes, you can try to anticipate someone's needs, but beyond that, you
Mhm.
have to wait until someone's gonna say something, especially if you're dealing with adults. Like, we can all own our own shit, really.
Mhm.
So, like this is what we need to do.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's good for people to be conscious of like how they are dealing with their friends, how they're dealing with people in the outside world because like we need community, honestly, in the way that the political landscape is going, the economy, like that's what we need. So as long as we can show up for each other in like even small ways, I think that that's how you build up maybe being able to reach out to someone when something big is happening.
Exactly, exactly. My friends and my family are like, I'm constantly thinking about ways to show up for the people in my life. I just, I value that above all else, just having really consistent and thoughtful people in my life. And so showing up for them in a way that feels thoughtful, that feels consistent, that feels loving. And so I'm always, making sure that I'm doing that. So even in this is an act of love. This is me, you know, loving you enough to give you freedom and loving myself enough to receive freedom from my friends and my family.
Yeah, yeah. That's special. Um so originally I was going to introduce you, but I got so overwhelmed with the doctor side of things. I meant to say author of Undone and The Last Valentine in the time that we have recorded the last podcast episode in season 1. So I would love to talk to you about, and if you all have heard my previous episode in season 3 about the writing retreat, and I also released a different episode about my short story called When the Lights Come Up. So Brandi is the leader of the virtual writing community that I was speaking about, and like, that short story, me writing that short story, being born out of that community, it was just so special to me. So I wanted to talk to you about, like, 1, how you had that idea, and also, talk about, like, the books that you have written in the time, and, Black Girl and Her Pen, right?
Hmm.
3 3 works done in that span of time. Yeah, so talk about all of that.
Yeah. So Push Your Pen, the Patreon community of writers, really came from, again, a need for community. I want a community where we can talk about writing. It really came from my desire to do a yearly writing retreat. And then it spurred from there. And so that is like the heart of it, is spending some dedicated time in person writing, being amongst other writers, getting real time feedback on your writing, and just really spending that time. I think is so crucial and so important, because the same way your short story was birthed from the writing retreat, The Last Valentine was birthed at the writing retreat for me too. So we both started a project that has now come to fruition. People can hold it in their hands from just spending a weekend focused on writing and really locking in on that. And so it has really been so beneficial to me. Even as I lead it, it's still beneficial to me in having that community to keep me accountable to get my writing done. It keeps me accountable to think about what I'm thinking about, think about what I'm going to write about next. So it's been such a powerful space to me.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so the thing that was starting it was like a writing retreat. And
Mhm.
then how do you build up to that?
Mhm.
Okay, let me start this virtual writing community. That definitely makes sense because it was a way from me on the outside looking in, it was a way to like really connect and get comfortable with the people in the community before the writing retreat because
Mhm.
then on the writing retreat we are reading other people's work, we're critiquing it, we're like um helping to build something, and so that was nice to be able to know who was in it before, kind of get like um have that community, understand people's sensitivities, etc. Then
Mhm.
it's like at that retreat it's crunch time, like we're doing it right now. So yeah, it's another thing of like putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, and also being disciplined to like create things, whether it's a completed work or finally getting something off the ground that you had been wanting to do and realizing, okay, it's not as hard as I was making it in my mind. I think that was really valuable for me with that short story because I'd never written anything as long as that, like a fictionalized work. And so in my head, when I had thought about the idea of what I wanted to write a couple years before, I had never actually started writing it until it was time to go on the writing retreat. And then it was like, oh, well, I could have done this 3 years ago. It wasn't time for that just yet. So, how did
Mhm.
you also like understand? Okay, it's time for me to do this.
Um, I think I was at a place where I was not writing as much as I wanted to be. And I was like, okay, you know what I really wish I could do? I wish I could just go away for a weekend and just write. And it's like, yeah, I could do it on my own, but would I really hold myself accountable to do it? And not that I would be out gallivanting whatever city I'm in. I am a nap taker. So my thing is like I will go to a hotel room with crisp white sheets and cold air and the TV on and no dog to bother me to walk, and I can sleep for days. Like I can order room service and sleep. And so I'm like, I really would love for this to be something that is more structured with people. And I would love to offer it to people who are wanting that same experience. Like, I know I want to write, but I'm not making time in my day for it. I'm not being intentional about the time that I spend writing. I'm not sure where to start, or I get to a place and then I need feedback. I have been known to start writing projects and then go back and read them and say, oh, I hate this, and toss it away. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it. I just get self-conscious. And so it's nice to be able to come together with people and say, hey, can you read this for me? What is it giving for you? What is it sparking for you? And then that helps me to stay in the groove and stay accountable to it, because now somebody's read the first 10 pages. They want to know what else is coming, So it really helps with accountability. And I think it's just a powerful thing to have more than one, what they say about church, where two or more are gathered. So I think it's a similar concept.
Definitely, yeah. And that's how I felt like I'm not necessarily a nap taker, but I'm a doom scroller. I'm a binge watcher. Going out to a hotel, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do everything but the thing, especially if I'm quantifying it in my mind as work.
Yeah.
But in that writing retreat, like when I knew that, okay, people are going to be expecting me to have
Mhm.
something written by the time we meet up after these 4 hours. Like, let me get on my Zoom and get this done. And it was like a very healthy amount of accountability. And I would encourage anyone, like, whether it's writing, I mean, join Push Your Pen. It's virtual.
Yeah.
You can do that. Whatever it is, and I think I said this on that previous episode. It's like whatever hobby you might have, passion, if you want some accountability around that, one, see if there's something like that in your town. And if not, you can start it because
Yes.
if you build it, they will come.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely agree. Nothing like finding it, but nothing like starting it. And even if it exists, but it doesn't exist in the way that you wanted to, start it. That's how the book club came about. There
Mhm.
are plenty of book clubs in Atlanta, plenty, but a lot of them are really genre focused. So it's like, oh, we do all romance, or we do all, this, or we only do these types of books. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a niche for everybody. But for me, I'm like, I just want to read something a little different every month. I just want to come together. I want to have some food. I want to have some drinks. I want to kiki, and I want to talk about a book. That's it. Real low pressure, real low stakes. We don't have to like go to somebody's house for each one. Like, we'll just pick a different restaurant, have us a little cocktail and a chat and laugh, and let that be that. And so when I couldn't find it, I created it, and it's been great. I think there's about 13 or 14 of us in the group, but
That's
usually
pretty big.
between 6 and 8 of us at each meeting. And we have a blast every time. Great conversation. We've grown to know each other, really well. It's always a good time. So if it doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist in the way you want it to, create it.
Created. I love that. Um, so I do want to ask a question. This is something that I've been asking people in season 4. And my question to you would be, if your 20-year-old self could see you now, what would amaze her about you right now?
If my 20-year-old self could see me now, she would be so amazed that I have published books because I've wanted to be a writer since I was a kid. So she would be amazed by that. She would be stunned that I am single and childless. She would be like, "What? That wasn't the plan." But she would also be like, "But wait a minute, you kind of eating that." Like you kind of live making it look cute, you know?
Making it look cute.
Yeah,
Yes.
she would love that. She would love that. I think she would be in awe, but she would love that. She would love the fact that I have a Dalmatian. Oh my gosh, how cute! Got a Dalmatian.
How cute.
I know she would be stunned that I live in Atlanta. As a kid, I always said I would live here when I got older. I was gonna go to spell.
Wait, I did not know that.
Yeah. My dad and my uncle and cousins have lived here since I was like 2. So, we spent a lot of time here when I was a kid. And I always used to say, I'm going to go to college in Atlanta. I was going to go to Spelman, and then I was going to go to Emory for law school. Like I had a whole plan. And then I just ended up, not being ready to move that far away when I went to college. So I went to Wayne State, and then I went to California, et cetera. But to end up here where I always said I would be. So she would be stunned by that. She would be very in awe of that. So I think she would be pleased, and she would be like, I like her. I want to be like her.
Nice. And then like, "Ooh, let me like force it." But it's nice that we don't know what our future is gonna
Mhm.
be, because then it leaves you open to being surprised. It leaves you open um to something that you never really thought would have happened
Mhm.
otherwise. And so like the fact that you're not married, you don't have kids. I know we talked about it in the previous episode. You were saying like, what you had thought of in your mind. And I think this is something that I thought, not super concretely, but more abstractly, because I grew up in the church. It was like, oh yeah, you get married and you have kids. Like in my 20s, I'll get married, I'll have kids. In my early 20s, like I'll be having children. So now that that hasn't been your fate just of yet, like is it jarring for you to think about, or like how do you feel about that compared to how you thought you would have felt about it?
It is not jarring anymore. There was a point in like my late 20s where I was like, this cannot be my life. Charlotte York says on Sex and the City, I've been dating since I was 15. Where is he? That's how I felt for
I'm
a while.
tired.
But something about 30 changed it for me. It just, everything started to really lock in for me and click for me. And I was actually having a conversation with 2 friends yesterday about this. Like, I feel good. Like, single is not an insult to me. I'm very grateful. A spouse would have to be so special and so ordained to to allow you into my space permanently. And I don't mean just to allow you into my space. I could date, I could have a boyfriend, but like a husband, like somebody's got to live in the house with me, you'd have to be so special. Because I love my space. I love the life I've curated. I love my solitude. I love dating. I love being able to date. And you can't date if you're in a monogamous relationship. I mean, you date your partner, but you don't date anybody else. And so I value it so much, which makes me grateful because I won't settle just because I want a person. It has to be the absolute right person, the right time, the right circumstance. And I'm open to that being the case. But if it never is, I am so okay. I'm so okay.
Listen, you are preaching to the choir. Because yeah, like it would take a lot, I think, in order to like really be locked in with someone like that. And I think a lot of maturity, a lot of communication, like honest communication, and um like that's not something that I think needs to be rushed.
Mhm.
So if it's going to happen, like great, but it's like, of course, for me, like I get lonely. Of course, there are times when I'm like, man, why didn't this go in a different way? Like I wanted it to be something else. But then after maybe like a 10-minute cry, then I'm like, well, now I get to do whatever I want.
Yeah. I
So
know.
it's like
People
that
are like,
balance.
oh, you're single with no kids. I'm like, yeah, I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want for the rest of my life. I'm sorry that that shocks and offends you. You know,
Unfortunately, I get to do whatever I want.
unfortunately, and I think having kids is beautiful. And I love kids. I love kids. I have a godson who I adore. He's amazing. I just told a friend recently, like, when you have your baby, you and your husband want to go out of town, I will keep the baby once they at least two. I love kids. I love seeing people in relationships and marriages that are happy and healthy. And, I would love to get married and have a happy, healthy marriage. So, it's also no shade towards that. Like, I don't feel like that is a loss, but I also don't feel like this is a loss. Like, I'm happy, and I hope that people that have children are happy and people that are married are happy. Whatever makes you happy, be happy.
Yes, yes, that's a great nugget. Um, I do have another question.
Yeah,
One last formalized question.
let's do it.
What is a piece of advice that you would give Gen Alpha?
Who are Gen Alpha? What age are
Gen
they?
Alpha, this is like, I think these are kids in like middle school. So
Oh,
like your middle school type of life. Like imagine where you were then. What would you have wanted someone to like give you some advice about?
um, first thing I'm gonna say, because of the world that we're living in, get a trade. Learn how to do something with your hands. L-
Smart.
Much less likely that AI and the powers that be can take your job if you are doing hair, doing nails, plumbing, electrician. Like, get a trade. Get a trade. Um, Read books, lots of them, fiction ones. Don't skip on the fiction. Don't let people tell you not to read fiction. Some of the greatest life lessons that I've learned, some of the greatest moral lessons that I've learned have come from fiction books. It is how you learn about life's experiences without having to experience all the things of life. Um, and third, uh, if I'm talking to girls, decenter men, decenter them. I'm not saying completely don't deal with them, like they still exist, but decenter them. Like, when we have conversations about, I recently had somebody tell me that they told their child, their daughter, hey, you shouldn't be cursing because, like, boys don't like that. Boys don't like when you do a lot of cursing and you have a potty mouth. And I was like, excellent lesson of not doing too much cursing, but we could reframe that in, because it is a sign that you don't have other words to use, and I know you do, and you're smarter than that. You've got enough words that you don't need curse words, instead of because boys won't like. Decenter boys, decenter men, you know
I love that. Yeah, focus on you, focus on building that community when and it doesn't have to be romantic.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Thank you. I love that. I always say I love that. it's it's become my that's something that I'll work on. But thank you so much for coming back, Brandy. Thank you for updating us on your life and giving out these gems, giving out this advice. And how can people connect with you online
Yes,
if
first of
that's
all,
something
thank
that you
you
would
for
want?
having me. I enjoyed it as always. So proud of you for everything you're doing. Season 4, like, you eating that up. Um, and you can find me as Brandi Nikkale on everything. If you're looking for book related content, the Bookish Baddie on everything. But Brandi Nikkale across all platforms.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you so much. As I mentioned before, get your copy of Undone, get your copy of The Last Valentine. These stories they are quick reads, they are very thought-provoking, they are world building. Like you're gonna feel like I'm with this person, no, I'm with this person. Like what's happening? So definitely get your copies. And yes, this will be out at some point maybe in like June. So we will be back from our writing retreat by the time this is out. So people in the comments keep us accountable, ask us how did we do? And yeah, this has been really great. Thank you again.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Me in the Making podcast. please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Tell a friend, tell a family member. We all deserve to grow and change and become our best selves, whatever that might look like to you. And please connect on Instagram at Making Me Pod, on TikTok. You can email me at melly@makingmepod.com. I would love to hear from you. Let me know if you want to be a guest on the show. And yeah, I'm just having such a great time. I'm so happy to have been able to launch this video episode for you all, and come again. Bye.